I hope all is going well and you're having a beautiful, beautiful, blessed day. Welcome to the 5th anniversary episode of Encouragement Notes. I am very, very excited about today's episode because today I am going to do an overview of why I started the show, what I was doing before the show 5 years ago, and where I see my life going as a speaker and as a podcaster. So, first and foremost, though, I want to thank everybody who has supported Encouragement Notes and listened to any of my episodes. And I hope that it has been serving you in ways that have enriched your life. I started Encouragement Notes on October 21st, 2020. And the way I started it was only by creating the intro. One of my digital mentors named Amy Landino, who has her own YouTube channel, Amy TV, on YouTube, said that the way you start is you start. And when she had said that when we think of starting something, we think of being the biggest presence in the room, but it is important to start small. So I wanted to be a podcaster because I felt God calling me to tell my story on a different platform. I was telling it on social media. Facebook was my biggest platform at the time. Biggest platform meaning where I was putting all my stuff. And then I took it to Instagram once I learned how to use Instagram. And then I took it to, recently I reawoke my YouTube. But Amy said to start small. So the first thing I did on October 21st was create an intro. Now, if you go back into previous years of Encouragement Notes on your listening platforms, you can find those episodes that have my original intro on it. And the reason why I created Encouragement Notes primarily back then was to share what I learned in church and how I was using it in this life that God has given me. And that all expanded. It didn't change, but it all expanded when I came into my self-acceptance in 2021, when I found the Rolettes and the Boundless Babe Society, and I wanted to share the awesomeness that had come into my life because of them. Now, what I was doing before Encouragement Notes was I was taking a course called Confidence on Camera with Renee Marino, who was Mary Delgado in Jersey Boys. She performed as Mary Delgado on Broadway, and she became Mary Delgado in the movie. She was cast in the movie as Mary in 2014. And when she left acting in 2020, she launched her career as a speaking coach. And what Renee did for me, and this, you can take this as a testimonial if you want to research Renee. I will post her information along with this episode. But what Renee helped me do was she helped me to speak more concisely and not use filler in order to make myself look interesting and cute, which very weirdly, as a disabled person, and I'm sure I'm not alone on this, the last thing you want is to look cute to somebody. And I totally believe that I was trying to gain people's acceptance by appearing wordy and like I knew different vocabulary, which I do. I know a lot of vocabulary. But I was trying to make things longer in order to make them supposedly more interesting. So what Renee had me do was she had me bullet point what I wanted to say, and I will admit that I did not do that today. I'm just speaking from the heart today. But I will try to keep this on track. And no, it's not going to be a short episode because this is all coming from my heart. And this is a very special day. But she told me to bullet point each thing that I wanted to say, or each section of information that I wanted to touch on when I was speaking. And to simply speak from the heart with that framework in mind. And what I could point back to that was recent for me was I could point back to the speaking engagement that I had. The speaking engagement that I had when I spoke at church this past summer to a group of women at church. So if you see that video, I'm holding a paper. But that paper doesn't have things word for word on it. It's a map that has bullet points of where I needed to go. So that is what I was doing before encouragement notes started. Was I was working with Renee Marino as my communications coach and as my speaking coach. And so now I want to touch on what I see myself doing in the future. I expanded encouragement notes into my disability acceptance, into talking about my disability acceptance, because I felt like if I was feeling a certain way about my disability, then I felt like I wasn't alone. And especially after 2021, I knew that I wasn't alone. I knew that there were other people in the community that I would be called to be a big sister to, in order to show them that even though I am disabled, it's nothing to be ashamed of, and that there is beautiful, beautiful life in a life like this. It's not all doom and gloom and hospitals. And very, very, very often, people will think that being disabled is being somebody who is down on themselves and I can't do this, that, or the other thing. But it can be such a beautiful existence, especially when you get to the point where you say that you want to find community. Because once you want to find community, you are unstoppable. And so I will say every day from the rooftops that my mentors, Nikki Walsh and Renee Dolenmeyer, were the first two people to believe that I could thrive in this life. We're the first two people that had a disability that told me I could thrive in this life. I don't want to portray the picture that nobody ever thought I could thrive in this life. Very many people did. I just didn't see it because I was so hurt from past experiences and people that didn't know me from Adam telling me supposedly that I needed to be fixed and that things would be better if I walked. And things sort of that nature. But now in my life, I see myself as being a mentor to others and a big sister to others and telling them, especially the youngest of us. And I think I truly honestly think of one little girl who is such sunshine in our community. Her name is Marlene. And every time I see Marlene, her little face just lights up because she's so excited about life. And I just want her to keep that because there was a point in my life where I lost that because I started listening to opinion of people that didn't know me and people that thought that they were saying the correct thing. So I picture myself as a mentor, and I hope that I'm doing a good job of being a picture of what can be possible. And now for where I see encouragement notes going. I picture encouragement notes, as you would guess, as a long-term project. I picture it going on forever and ever and ever until God tells me, you know what, you need to stop that, or you need to quiet that down. But I don't picture myself ever quieting down about the love I feel for my community, or the love I feel for Christ, or the love I feel for my friends and family, and telling people, you know, how much my life has changed because of my community. I was dead set against being part of the disability community until 2020. And in 2020, what happened is, it might seem like a minute thing, or it might seem to some people funny, but it wasn't. To me, it wasn't. I fell in a casino when I was walking with my mom and dad, and they had went before me, and my legs gave out, and I hit the floor. Not once, but twice. At least that's what I remember. And when you do that in public, in a public area, and somebody sees you, a report is taken. And so having that report taken was very embarrassing. But then I felt like maybe I should explore what life being a wheelchair user is going to be like as an adult. maybe I should just give it a shot. So I bought a chair on Amazon. And from then on, my life changed for the better. I was challenged to go out into the community at least once a week, just to simply go get coffee. Sit at Panera or sit at Corner Bakery and go get coffee. Because when you go to a public place, chances are people are going to look at you. And when people are going to look at you, you have to come up with what are you going to do when you're looked at? Or what are you going to do when you have to answer a question? Specifically those questions that we don't like answering, like what's wrong with you? Or even the simpler question of do you need help? Because as disabled people, sometimes we're in moods where we don't want help. And even though we may need help, we choose to do things ourselves. That was very much me. Even though, and I come up against this a lot even now. Even though I need help, I will say I do not need help. And I want to do it myself. And even though it might take a little longer, I do get that thing done. And that's okay. But moving on to where I see... Actually, let me go back and finish my thought. So, when Renee and Nikki both challenged me to go out in public, that at first it felt very awkward. My chair from Amazon felt like I was pushing a hospital chair. My mom actually called me when I got to the Corner Bakery that first day of being out on my own. And she said, "How's it going?" And I'm like, I feel like I'm pushing on a hospital chair here. And it was a little big, but all in all, it was something that I could handle. But as I got more comfortable and more confident, being around the community, specifically the community of the Boundless Babe Society, and I know that for a lot of you who have listened to me in the past, you know all the stories already. But it is so important that I retell these stories because these communities that I have been a part of are so vital to somebody's self-acceptance. When you have a disability, you need to see people that are like you in order to know that something is possible. And the person that can get dressed the quickest because they don't have a disability and run to go get coffee and then run to a dance class or an exercise class doesn't always understand that. So you need not only your non-disabled community and your non-disabled family and friends, you need community that is exactly like you in order to say, yeah, I've been in your shoes and I could 100%, even though my experience may be a smidge different, I 100% know where you're coming from. And it's not just, I feel bad for you sympathy. It's actual empathy that comes with lived experience. And so, furthermore, I want to be that not only for the people that I take dance classes with, but I also consider and I dream about going to hospitals and other churches besides my own to tell my story of self-acceptance. And I always say, or I have always said to my friends, that my version of Broadway would be Children's Hospital Los Angeles, because I spent my first 3 months of life as a preemie at Children's Hospital. And I furthermore spent 15 years as a patient there off and on, having multiple surgeries because I have hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain. And I also have, because of the hydrocephalus, I also have cerebral palsy, which is a disability that in me, it causes my brain, the part of my brain that tells my legs to work, does not work in terms, the same terms as a quote unquote typical brain would. And so my body works slower because my brain is giving my body other signals. So that is why I have CP. And I just want to use my experience to be able to show people that, again, that this life is nothing to be sad about. And it is something that could be so celebrated. And that people that have disabilities are just as awesome as any other typical person. We are typical people. We just show up in life on wheels or on walkers or with communication devices that typical non-disabled people do not. So I hope that having encouragement notes starts a movement of me being able to go to different venues, different hospitals, different churches, and letting people know what God has done in my life, and letting parents know that they do have typical children. Their typical children just look a little bit different, and hopefully someday they figure out that they look a little bit more awesome than the average kid. And so I want to be that person that tells parents that their kids would be okay, and that disability is nothing to be afraid of. And I also want to be that person that tells disabled kids and disabled teenagers and even young adults, and especially some older adults that are kind of as stuck as I was back in 2020, 2021, that life can be so awesome. It can be so awesome if you allow yourself to find the community that you were meant to be in. So you guys, thank you so much for listening to Encouragement Notes. This is episode 444 and the kickoff to season 6. And I had a great season 5. Thank you so much for supporting the show. And I can't wait to see what God does in the next year with me and with Encouragement Notes. And I look forward to keeping you up on everything that I'm involved with. And just a million thank yous for listening and supporting. And this is my love, my passion project, and my ministry. So thank you so much for supporting it. I love you guys, and I will see you at the next episode soon. And I may attach the video that I did this morning to this episode, just as another intro, but I'm not sure yet. So I will talk to you guys later. I love you. Have a great day. Bye.